What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Gifted Gamer 204 back at it again with another banger for y'all, man. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the like button, share the video. Those of you who have been doing all that, man, I appreciate you. It's really helping me out tremendously. Let's keep it going. Let's keep pushing, y'all. So today I came across this video. So as y'all know, Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds is getting ready to drop, right? So they did release the PC specs. So I went over to Digital Foundry's page on YouTube and I just had to hear what they had to say about this. And I want y'all to pay close attention when these people talk, because they're not just saying things just to say it. Like, they breaking everything down. So, and this is I come back to the whole PC argument. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll it, and I'm gonna show you at the end of it what it's going to take for you to run this game the way you want to play it. Okay. So yeah, let's roll the film, man. Let's roll the film, because it's gonna get crazy, man. It's about to get crazy for real. Let's roll it. Here we go.
Okay, so this week we actually got a bit of a double header of Monster Hunter Wilds. Obviously, the State of Play had a new bit of footage in there running on PlayStation, but primarily, to begin with, we're going to be talking about the release of recommended specifications.
You see in the bottom, frame gen for 60 frames per second gameplay recommended. Okay, this is what Capcom is recommending. Okay, you gotta keep that in mind. This is what they're recommending to you, the PC player, what you need to be able to run this game at medium settings. Let's go.
Notifications for the PC version of the game, because man, you've got some stuff to say about this, haven't you, Alex?
Hot on the heels of Dragon's Dogma 2, I think and a couple of other hints throughout this last generation, and the way Capcom released games on PS4 and Xbox One. Yeah, I think they've had some strange ideas internally about how to optimize a game for a set frame rate. And I think it's bared out in some of the results for their non-linear corridor titles. So Dragon's Dogma, I think 2 didn't run very well, and it still doesn't run very well in a lot of ways. And I think also their last Monster Hunter game on PC and console also didn't run too great. And unfortunately, the specs that they released here for the PC version so far also point to perhaps a game that'll run in a troubled manner, at least at release. Because if you look there at the recommended specs, I almost want you just ignore whatever they say about the GPU there, the GPUs listed. Look at the CPUs, and then look at the recommended resolution, and also the little parentheses right next to it. It says 1080p 60 frame generation, essentially. And that to me is concerning, because neither NVIDIA or AMD actually recommend using frame gen from a 30 FPS base to get up to 60, most likely for visual reasons, for a lot of game content and not holding up too well. Also, from a player experience perspective, the input latency from that is going to be a lot higher than at higher frame rates.
Yep.
But what? We just saw this recently with Black Myth Wukong, where that is not a great experience visually and input latency wise. It doesn't look great at all. And they're saying to do that exact same thing on a PC game. Now, I don't know what to say to them about this, other than you should have written the spec sheet differently. You should not have the expectation to have frame generation as be part of the spec sheet's recommended spec. If it was a recommended spec for something like path tracing, I'd find it more reasonable.
Yes.
But yeah, because frame generation is being the way we achieve great path tracing performance these days. I think it's an accepted thing. But for a game that is not going to be using path tracing, I don't know. And you just go back over to that state of play footage of Monster Hunter and the last couple of times we've seen it before this. I don't know. They keep showing it off at 30 FPS ish.
No bueno.
And I did notice
look at that.
It's having the frame pacing issue in the trailer, and I'm just kind of worried about this release as a result of that. I don't want to fearmonger about recommended spec sheets because sometimes they're written very poorly to give you bad impressions about games. I think Alan Wake did that a little bit too. Like Alan Wake 2 was realistic, maybe even a little too hardcore in their spec sheet release. Then the game kind of ran fine, actually. It was just GPU heavy, right? And here I'm actually worried. I just ignore the GPUs, just look at the CPU section of that recommended specs there. And I'm thinking, like, is this a game that is going to be CPU limited, just like we saw with Dragon's Dogma 2?
That's incredible.
So far.
So are you listening? This is the recommended. Expected to run at 1080p at 60 frames per second. Basically a PS5. Base PS5. With frame generation enabled. Under the medium graphic settings. And this is what they're requiring. Look an i5. There's the recommended CPU, an i5. You know how old that thing is? Like how backed up an i5 is? And this is what I'm saying, like with PC, right? People always saying, "Oh, but I could do this with my PC. I could run it at 120 frames, 4K, and this and that." You doing what I'm seeing is they're doing that with a lot of old games. They're doing that with a lot of old games, and most PC players, from what I'm seeing, don't even play all these type of games. You know what PC play? A lot of PC. You know what's at the top of the charts of the PC games? You got your PUBG. What's that game called? PUBG. You got your Call of Duties. You got your Counter Strikes. You got games like that. That's what PC players play. All the games that require, like, for the PC to actually do its job, most of the majority of PC players don't play those games. Such as this one right here that we're watching, Monster Hunter Wilds. So look at this is not good. If you're gonna buy this game to play it on PC, this is not good. You're not gonna enjoy it playing it with an Intel i5. You're not gonna enjoy it. And then you have to bring it down to 1080p to get at 60 frames. Let's keep going.
They have yet to prove that this engine can do dense open worlds at like really good frame rates. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest, but it's not great. Recommended specs, okay? They're recommending this stuff. And then they're saying, "Oh, but you're only going to get 60 frames per second with frame generation under the medium graphics setting." So is medium graphics setting the recommended setting? What's happened to high and very high ultra, etc.? That doesn't make sense. Secondly, let's take a look at the processors that they're recommending here: 11600K, 12400, 3600X, and 5500. Those are two very different. I mean, it seems to me that, based on this, you've got a wide gamut of recommended CPU performance, because a 5500 versus an 11600K
That's so
is
different.
actually quite different. So that doesn't make sense either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just baffling. And so, okay, let's get this straight then. 1080p 60 with frame generation. Let's say you're running locked to 60 frames per second. That means that you'll be getting 30 frames per second generated by the GPU in the traditional sense. And for that, you need a 6700 XT for medium settings. This is
At
kind of
1080p.
at 1080p.
That's
This is
crazy.
like mind-boggling.
That's crazy.
So I think
It's not me saying it.
I think anybody that's putting frame generation into recommended specs needs to quote unquote have a word with themselves, because it's just not great. And if this is indeed how heavy the game is, and to be fair, 2070 Super 4060, these aren't high-end GPUs. Why isn't there high-end specs tab here? Why is it just minimum
Exactly.
and recommended? I wouldn't recommend those specifications
Exactly.
for that level of performance. What's going on there? This just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Oliver, what do you think about this in general?
I mean,
I'm gonna let Ali
frame generation
speak a
for
little bit, and
60
then I'm gonna cut
FPS
it
is
off.
Kind of ridiculous. I mean, we've seen it on console, unfortunately, now with the first Descendant, and of course the infamous Black Myth Wukong. It doesn't feel that great on the controller pad there. I really do think you want a higher frame rate, higher update there for frame generation to work really at all. I guess here you'd kind of expect that maybe on the CPU side that something like, again, if you take these specs at face value, something like a 14900K or 7800X3D should be able to pull off something like 60 FPS, but with Capcom, I don't really know what they mean by 30 FPS, if they actually mean a consistent 30 FPS, because certainly with something like Dragon's Dogma 2, that wasn't really the case, right? That you could actually get a stable frame rate on those higher end CPUs even. I guess there's also a question about
No
what kind
bueno.
of technologies they're pushing here, because if they do ray tracing, then maybe that's more understandable, not acceptable, but understandable. But I'm not really seeing any I'm seeing the classic RE engine SSR, basically, to put it less diplomatically, in some of these scenes where there's really nasty issues with occlusion and it just looks not that great. I don't know about RTGI. Hard to say. It definitely doesn't look as good as Dragon's Dogma 2, I think, in that respect. The indirect lighting doesn't look
horrible.
It doesn't look, it just doesn't look that great in general. I mean, maybe it's the older RE engine RTGI. Maybe.
My runtime. I'm gonna cut it right here. Sorry to cut that video show. I'm gonna leave that link in the description in case y'all want to see the whole video. I'm gonna cut it right there, right? Because first of all, Dragon's Dogma 2, I tried it on the PlayStation. Horrible. I could not play that game. I couldn't. I could not play the game. Horrible. I do not recommend that game on the base PS5. Do not recommend it. And it's looking like it's the same thing that's about to happen with Monster Hunter. The same thing. And you're hearing it from them. It's not me saying it, it's them. These are the experts saying these things. And it's true. What Richard said, what happened to the high ultra settings? Why are you recommending medium to play the game in medium settings? That's not what you buy a PC for. That's not what you're spending over $2,500 on a PC to play a new game that's coming out that's CPU heavy at medium settings. That's not what you're doing it for. PC gamers, you want the best of both worlds. You want to live it up. That's why you're buying a PC. But then how come the PC cannot run these games? And another thing, it's true what he said. Why didn't they show the specs for the higher end PC models, like the 4090s and the 4080s? Why they didn't bring out the specs for those graphic cards? This is for medium. These are medium specs. So that's all I'm saying. And I'm just trying to break all this down, because I'm not no PC expert. I don't know much about PC and things like that. but I've been doing research. I've been looking, and I'm gonna continue to look because I'm learning. And at this point, it's not worth getting a mid-level PC. Well, if you're talking 4070, it ain't worth it. 4070 Ti is not worth it. Don't even think about it, because you're gonna be struggling playing these games. Now, and it's not to like bash PCs and things like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get you to better understand as to when people are saying don't get a PS5 Pro, build a PC instead. You're gonna think about it. Like, look at this video and think about what they're saying. Okay. And I keep coming back to this because this is, if you're trying to get a PC and you want to play with high settings on ultra, this is, from here up, is the only thing from what I've been seeing that I recommend. I do not recommend anything lower than this. I'm sorry. I'm not going under a 4080. I'm not doing it. And a 4080 Super, you don't really need it. It's pretty much the same as a 4080. Because I looked at the specs and games running 4080 Super is pretty much the same. So this is it right here, 4080 with 2 terabyte. I'm not doing no 1 terabyte. I'm not doing it. So this is what you're gonna have to settle for right here. If you look at these prices, this is what you got to settle for. I keep coming back to this because every time I keep looking at all these videos coming out, it keeps bringing me back to this, to 4080. Everything is coming back to this, meaning if I wanted to come into the PC gaming world, this is where I will have to start. I'm not going lower than this. I'm not settling for less because I'm not trying to go through no troubleshooting issues. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not doing it. And this ain't even with a monitor. This is just a tower. So I'm just trying to get y'all to understand. Like PC gamers say, but oh yeah, my PC can do this, can do that, but they don't play those games. That's what y'all not understanding. At the charts of the PC, the top 10, you could go look. I should have pulled it up, but I guess the video's running too long already. I don't want to make it way too long. I'm already over the limit. Look it up. You're gonna see Counter-Strike, PUBG or PUBG, I think it's called. You're gonna see games like Call of Duty, games like that, like Fortnite, things like that. They're not playing any CPU heavy games. All right. So I'm gonna leave it at this right here. You could either run there or you could come home, baby. I mean, now you tell me. $700. We getting 4K upscaling with 60 frames per second on a console. You just got to press the button to turn it on. Let's get it popping. That's it. I'm just saying. Y'all don't have to agree with me. I'm just trying to look out for everybody out there and give y'all to my best knowledge of what it is that I'm seeing. And it's not what PC gamers are saying, and all this is not adding up. So I come back to the granddaddy of them all, the PlayStation 5 Pro, the best console on the market, the best place to play your video games. With that being said, it is your boy, Gifted Gamer 204. Yes, I'm back at it again. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share the video, do all that good stuff, and we out.